for our walk in this world. Good morning. I want to talk to you today about one particular verse in the Bible. It is the verse that we find in James 1:20. It says, "For the anger of man does not achieve the righteousness of God." I think as Christians, this is a verse we've really got to think about right now, because right now we live in an angry society. It seems like there's anger every turn. People are upset about one thing or another, or sometimes multiple things. People are angry right now about the election because half of the country is not satisfied with the way that the election turned out. And so it's coming out in anger. And there's lots to say, and I'm not going to get political here about their justification for that. But a lot of people are angry right now, and they are becoming obsessed with it in that anger. There's a lot of people in our country right now angry about the racial tension that is going on. And we see anger on both sides, and quite honestly, we've got to understand that there are some reasons why people are upset over some racial issues, because there have been a lot of injustices done. And yet we find not only are the people that are feeling like those injustices were against them, we see their anger, but we're seeing a lot of anger on the other side in kind of a counterbalance to the anger that they are experiencing. It's just, there's so much anger right now. And I'm not saying that some of this anger is not justified, but there's lots of anger. There's people who are just angry right now over some aspects of the COVID virus. If anything, right now, we as a country ought to be united in our fight against this, but we're not, because people are angry. They're angry that there are those who insist that they wear masks. And they're angry because some businesses even insist that they wear masks. And out of their, I don't know, their independence or their pride, or well, I don't know what's involved, but they're angry because they have to wear a mask. People are angry because of the isolation that is being forced upon them. Especially this week, we see all of the indicators are telling us that we should not meet together as large family groups. And I got to tell you, I hate it. I hate it because I really miss my family. And it's been months since I've seen some of them. But is that a reason for us to be angry? Because we're trying to quell this terrible virus that is ravaging our society right now? There are some that are angry enough that they don't even think that this is a real virus. And let me tell you, it's real. It's real. We lost a very dear friend this last weekend to the virus. It's a real thing. There's all sorts of things that people are angry over that are centered around the fact that we are living in a time of a pandemic. And step back from that and think, how silly is that? In a pandemic, we find reasons to be angry with each other. Should we not all be concerned about the same thing? Now, I understand for each of these things, there are, as I said, there are reasons to be angry. There are things that are upsetting us or making us feel threatened, or whatever's going on in people's minds, it makes them angry. And so I'm not going to say that they don't have a right to be angry on some things. I would say especially on the racial issues. There are people who have a right to be angry about a lot of things. But is that who we are? Are we people who are to be known for our anger? Is it really worth the sacrifice of your life's purpose and your own reputation to be a person of anger? Is that who you want to be? Surely Jesus was not going to be identified as a person of anger. Now, was he ever angry? Yes, he was. We think about that event while he was in the temple, And people had turned the temple into a marketplace rather than this sacred place of God. And Jesus was angry over that. And he took some action over that. But looking at the whole life story of Jesus, we do not see him as a person who was angry. We see him as a person of peace. And everywhere he went, he took that peace with him and he distributed that peace everywhere that he went. We just don't see Jesus as an angry person because his identity is much more in line with the peace that he brought. And so here we come back to our choices today. Are we going to choose to be people who are angry, or are we going to be people of God's peace? I know that you may feel justified in something that you're angry at. You may feel perfectly justified because you think that some terrible injustice has been done. But again, I've got to ask, is that who you really want to be? Do you want to be known as a person of peace? And how does that affect your relationships with your family, with your friends? If your friendship, your relationships are built on anger, where does that lead? On the other hand, I've got to ask, would you not rather be a person of peace? What will your anger accomplish? According to James, it isn't the righteousness of God. I hope that today you'll choose to be a person of peace. Spread the peace. Be a person that demonstrates the peace of God in your life. Have a great day.
They resound with God's own heart. Oh, let the ancient words impart words of life.